You are not going to do it today. You already know this. You knew it when you woke up. You will tell yourself otherwise for another 6 hours, and then the day will end, and the thing will still be sitting there, exactly where you left it. But you are not lazy. Lazy people are relaxed. You are exhausted. So what is actually happening in those 6 hours? What is your brain protecting you from, and who does it hand the bill to? The answer is not discipline, or willpower, or a better calendar. The answer is a stranger. And in 2009 at Stanford, they found out who. Let's start with the part everybody gets backwards. You have been told, probably since you were about 9 years old, that procrastination is a failure, a weakness, a small daily proof that you are not quite serious enough about your own life. Your teachers said it, your parents said it, and somewhere along the way you started saying it too. But here is the strange thing about that story. If putting things off were simply a failure, it would feel like one. And it doesn't. Not at first. In 1997, two psychologists at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Diane Tice and Roy Baumeister, decided to actually measure it. They took students, tested how much they procrastinated, and then followed them across an entire semester. Stress, illness, grades, all of it, tracked over time. And early in the term, the procrastinators were doing great. They reported less stress than everybody else. They got sick less often. While the conscientious students were quietly grinding away, carrying the low hum of work not yet finished, the procrastinators were out living, sleeping fine, feeling good. Then the term ended. By the end, it had all reversed. The procrastinators reported more stress. They got sick more often. Across the semester as a whole, they were simply sicker people, and they received lower grades, not on some assignments, on all of them. So read that again, because it is the whole video in one sentence. Procrastination is not failing you. It is paying you. Upfront, in cash, today, and then billing you later, with interest, when you are not looking. Nobody keeps doing something that never works. You keep doing this because it works beautifully. That is the trap. Not weakness, a trap. Which raises an obvious question. What exactly is it paying you for? Here is where it stops being about time at all. Think about the thing you are avoiding right now. Genuinely, hold it in your head for a second. The email, the form, the call you have rehearsed 11 times, the project you were so excited about in January. Now notice what happens in your chest when you think about it. That is the thing you are avoiding, not the task, the feeling. In 2013, two researchers, Fushia Sirwa at the University of Sheffield and Timothy Pichol, who runs the Procrastination Research Group at Carleton University in Ottawa, laid out the case that has since taken over the field. Procrastination, they argued, is not a time management problem at all. It is an emotion management problem. What triggers it is not difficulty and not laziness. It is aversiveness, the task being boring or frustrating or ambiguous or quietly humiliating. It makes you feel bad. And your brain, faced with something that makes you feel bad, does the most natural thing any organism has ever done. It gets away from it. They called this short-term mood repair. You are not managing your schedule. You are managing your mood, and you are doing it very, very well. And this explains something you have probably never been able to explain to yourself: why the productivity systems never worked. Because think about what those systems actually are: a planner, a timer, an app, a color-coded calendar. Every one of them is a solution to a time problem. You do not have a time problem. You had 90 free minutes on Sunday and you cleaned a cupboard that was already clean. That was not a scheduling failure. That was an escape. So the tools were never wrong. They were just aimed at the wrong thing entirely, like bringing a fire extinguisher to a flood and then blaming yourself when the water keeps rising. But this still leaves the biggest question of all unanswered. If putting it off makes you feel better today, and the work does not disappear, then somebody somewhere is absorbing the cost. So who? In 2009 at Stanford University, a researcher named Hal Erzner Hirschfield, working with Elliot Wimmer and Brian Moutzen, put people inside a brain scanner and asked them a set of very simple questions. Think about yourself, right now, today. What are you like? Then, think about somebody who is not you. What are they like? Then, the important one. Think about yourself in 10 years. And they watched what the brain did. There is a region called the rostral anterior cingulate cortex, tucked deep in the middle of your brain. It has a fairly reliable habit. It fires up when you think about you, and it goes quieter when you think about somebody who is not you. It is one of the ways your brain marks the difference between me and not me. So when people thought about themselves today, it lit up, as expected. When they thought about a stranger, it dropped, also as expected. And when they thought about themselves in 10 years, the self signal dropped as well. Future you did not come up like you. Future you came up looking more like somebody else. Now sit with that for a second, because it sounds like a party trick and it is not. Here is the part that turns it from a curiosity into an accusation. That gap, the distance between how strongly your brain flagged today you and how weakly it flagged 10 years from now you, was not the same for everybody. Some people had a small gap, some people had a canyon. And when the researchers then tested how those same people made choices between something small now and something better later, the pattern held. The bigger a person's gap, the more ruthlessly they took the immediate reward and left the future one behind. The less your brain treated future you as you, the more willing you were to sell them out. Now, a careful word here, because this is the point where the internet usually starts lying to you. This does not prove your brain literally believes future you is a different human being. The researchers were more careful than that, and so are we. But the pattern is real, it replicates, and it is deeply uncomfortable. When you hand tomorrow's version of yourself a job you could not face today, you are not being irresponsible, you are being generous, to yourself, at someone else's expense. You just cannot see their face. So let's look at the bill. In January 2023, a team led by Fred Johansson at Sophiahemmet University in Stockholm published something unusually careful in JAMA Network Open, the first study of procrastination and health to account for how people were doing before it started. 3,525 students, drawn from 8 universities across Stockholm and Örebro. They measured how much each person procrastinated, and then they waited 9 months and came back and asked how they were. The people who put things off were, 9 months later, more depressed, more anxious, more stressed. They slept worse, they moved less, they were lonelier, they were in more financial difficulty. And a strange, specific one, they had more disabling pain in their arms, shoulders, and hands. 9 months. That is the delivery window. Nobody feels that arriving. That is the entire problem. The relief lands in 90 seconds, and the invoice takes the better part of a year, and by the time it turns up you have long since stopped connecting the two. You do not think, this is the cupboard I cleaned in March. You just think you're tired lately. You just think you've been unlucky. Now, the study cannot prove the delay caused any of it. Nothing that watches real people across 9 months ever can. But the pattern is there, and it is pointing in exactly one direction. You weren't unlucky. You were spending someone's money, and they had no idea it was happening. Which brings us to the strangest experiment in this whole story, and the only one that actually worked. If the problem is that your brain files future you as a stranger, then the fix is not a planner. The fix is not discipline. The fix is not, God help us, waking up at 5 in the morning. The fix is an introduction. In 2011, Hirschfield went back to Stanford, this time with Jeremy Baylenson's virtual reality lab, and colleagues including Daniel Goldstein, William Sharp, and Laura Karastensen. They took photographs of people and aged them, digitally. Wrinkles, gray hair, the works. Then they put people into virtual reality and stood them in front of a mirror. And the person in the mirror was them, old. Not a diagram of retirement, not a lecture about compound interest. A face. Their face. Waiting for them, old. Then, afterwards, they asked those people how they would like to divide up some money. Spend it now, or save it for later. And the people who had met the old version of themselves put significantly more away. They had not become more disciplined. They had not been shamed, or motivated, or given a system. Their willpower had not changed at all. They had just met the person who was going to have to live with it. And they stopped robbing them. So here is what I want to leave you with. The thing you are avoiding today is still going to be there tomorrow. You know this. You have always known this. That was never the mystery. The mystery was who was going to deal with it. Tomorrow morning, you will walk back into that room, and the thing will be exactly where you left it. Untouched, patient, waiting, and so will they. Same desk, same face, same name as yours. Still waiting, still paying, and still, not once, in your entire life, ever actually asked,